Across the night sky of New Mexico, multiple cameras captured a brief but intense flash that appeared to tear through a dense layer of storm clouds. Local news outlets received a wave of reports from residents describing a vertical beam of light that cut straight downward, leaving a circular opening in the cloud deck. Meteorologists reviewing the footage confirmed that the formation did not resemble lightning, ball lightning, or any known atmospheric discharge. At the same moment, amateur observers and drivers traveling through the region documented the same burst of illumination from different angles, giving investigators a rare multi-source record of the event. Within minutes, discussions began across online monitoring groups, aviation forums, and UFO research networks as analysts attempted to identify the origin of the phenomenon. What unfolded in New Mexico quickly became one of the most widely debated unexplained aerial events of the year. The historical context of New Mexico's UFO activity. For decades, New Mexico has been a focal point in the study of unidentified aerial phenomena, making the recent cloud-piercing flash even more significant to researchers. The region's reputation stems from a long series of documented incidents, beginning with the well-known Roswell recovery, followed by recurring sightings reported near the White Sands Proving Ground. Military test zones, advanced weapons research facilities, and restricted airspace have created a complex environment where conventional aircraft sometimes coexist with events that defy simple categorization. Archival reports describe glowing spheres, erratic flight patterns, and objects accelerating in ways that do not align with standard aviation capabilities. In addition, pilots flying both commercial and private routes over New Mexico have repeatedly filed accounts of lights maneuvering at high altitude without transponder signals. Because of this history, analysts evaluating the recent flash immediately compared it with earlier data sets to determine whether it matched any known military activity or atmospheric anomaly previously recorded in the area. However, they found no direct correlation. The lack of military exercises scheduled in the region that night, combined with the absence of lightning storms capable of generating such a precise vertical burst, has pushed investigators to classify the event as part of a growing pattern of unexplained occurrences in the American Southwest. As the new evidence circulates through scientific and defense communities, the question remains whether this flash represents an isolated anomaly or another piece of a larger, unresolved puzzle surrounding New Mexico's skies. Dashcam evidence, a vertical beam cutting through cloud layers. One of the most widely analyzed recordings of the incident comes from a driver traveling along a highway in northern New Mexico. His dashcam captured a sudden vertical beam of light descending from above the cloud ceiling with remarkable precision. Frame-by-frame examinations show the light maintaining a perfectly straight trajectory, lacking the branching or irregular motion typical of lightning. Analysts also noted that the beam appeared to punch through the cloud layer, creating a sharp, circular break that expanded outward for several seconds before closing again. Atmospheric specialists reviewing the footage commented that natural phenomena rarely carve such symmetrical openings. Additionally, the intensity of the beam was unusually uniform from top to bottom, more reminiscent of a concentrated directed energy source than a diffuse atmospheric flash. What further complicates the assessment is the duration. The beam remained visible slightly longer than most lightning strikes, but far shorter than illumination caused by flares or falling debris. Weather radar logs from the same time frame showed no electrical storm activity capable of producing such a burst. Dashcams from other vehicles within a wide radius recorded the same moment of illumination, confirming that it was not an artifact produced by lens distortion or reflections from distant headlights. With multiple synchronized sources, investigators were able to triangulate the approximate location of the beam's origin, determining that it likely originated from a point above the cloud layer rather than from ground level. This finding rules out several conventional explanations and continues to fuel debate among researchers attempting to characterize the event. Security camera footage, a silent shockwave expanding across the sky. A second major piece of evidence comes from a security camera mounted on a ranch property approximately 20 miles from the dashcam location. The video shows the night sky suddenly illuminated by a concentrated flash above the cloud layer, followed by an expanding ring of light that spreads outward in near-perfect symmetry. The most striking aspect is the silence. No thunder, no explosive echo, and no mechanical noise typically associated with aircraft or atmospheric detonations. The expansion of the ring resembles a shock wave, but experts note that true shock waves produce audible pressure changes and do not manifest as uniformly as seen here. Video analysts who enhanced the footage observed a faint central point at the moment of the flash, suggesting the presence of a small, concentrated energy source before the ring widened. Multiple environmental sensors in nearby residential areas recorded a brief spike in ambient light levels, but detected no vibration or acoustic disturbance. This silent expansion has drawn comparisons to previously documented but unexplained light pulse events captured in Norway, Argentina, and the Pacific Northwest, all characterized by rapid illumination without accompanying sound. The uniformity of the ring and the absence of thermal or pressure signatures have led researchers to conclude that the phenomenon was unlikely to be a military test or atmospheric missile launch. Additionally, the camera's timestamp aligns precisely with the dashcam footage, strengthening the argument that both recordings capture different angles of the same unexplained occurrence. As investigators cross-reference these sources, the event is increasingly recognized as one of the clearest multi-angle captures of a silent aerial flash in recent years. Local witness reports, low-frequency noise, and subtle ground vibrations. In the hours following the event, local radio stations and news outlets in New Mexico received a surge of calls from residents reporting unusual sensory effects coinciding with the flash. Witnesses described a low-frequency hum that persisted for several seconds before fading abruptly. Unlike thunder or aircraft noise, which typically fluctuate in volume or direction, this hum was described as steady, uniform, and difficult to pinpoint. Some residents compared it to the vibration of a distant industrial generator, while others said it felt more like a pressure change than an actual sound. A small number of households closer to the suspected epicenter reported brief ground tremors, though seismic instruments in the region recorded no measurable earthquake activity. Engineers reviewing the accounts noted that low-frequency vibrations can sometimes be caused by atmospheric pressure shifts, but such shifts normally coincide with storms or large-scale weather patterns, none of which were present that night. Adding to the complexity, several residents claimed to have seen a faint dark object momentarily revealed within the circular gap in the clouds, visible only for a second before disappearing. These accounts were consistent across interviews conducted independently by different media outlets. Although eyewitness testimony can be unreliable, the recurring description of the hum and the brief tremors has prompted analysts to categorize this component of the event as a credible secondary anomaly rather than unrelated background noise. Taken together, the witness reports underscore that the New Mexico flash was not merely visual, it generated physical sensations that remain unexplained by conventional atmospheric science. Civilian radar data, a sudden spike in an unidentified reflective target. Civilian radar logs collected from regional weather and aviation networks revealed an unusual spike at the exact moment the flash occurred. Meteorologists initially believed it might be a transient interference artifact, but closer examination showed a brief, well-defined reflective signature appearing above the cloud layer. This target registered for less than 2 seconds before disappearing entirely, showing no horizontal movement and no transponder identification. The altitude estimate placed it significantly higher than typical drone activity, yet lower than commercial flight lanes, an interval where only authorized aircraft or atmospheric instruments would normally operate. The reflectivity strength observed in the radar return was inconsistent with natural airborne debris, birds, or meteor fragments. Specialists noted that meteor returns typically display a linear descent pattern, but this signal appeared and vanished vertically, as if the object materialized momentarily rather than descended through the scanning beam. Aviation analysts also confirmed that no aircraft were scheduled in the area, and no emergency transponder codes were activated in response to the flash. Several private aviation monitoring groups replayed the radar sweep using archival feeds and found no electronic interference spikes in adjacent regions, suggesting the anomaly was localized and genuine. When correlated with the dashcam and security footage, the radar data placed the unknown reflective object almost precisely at the center of the cloud opening, strengthening the theory that the flash did not originate from a natural weather event. Although short-lived, the radar signature remains one of the strongest technical indicators that a physical object, rather than an atmospheric disturbance, was present when the cloud layer was disrupted. Military response, night flights, restricted airspace, and unusual patrol patterns. Shortly after the flash was recorded, residents across several New Mexico counties reported hearing low-altitude aircraft moving through the area in tightly controlled patterns. Flight tracking enthusiasts who monitor military activity noted that at least 2 helicopters and 1 fixed-wing aircraft with a military transponder signature appeared on their logs within minutes of the event. These aircraft operated without publicly listed missions and maintained a circular search pattern inconsistent with routine training flights. A temporary flight restriction, small in radius but unusually abrupt, was also issued near the suspected epicenter. While brief, lasting only a short period, such restrictions typically accompany search and rescue operations, wildfire responses, or security events. None of those explanations matched the conditions that night. No emergency services were deployed and no natural hazards were present that would justify a shutdown of the airspace. Video clips captured by residents show aircraft with spotlights scanning sections of desert terrain, though no official statement was released confirming what the crews were searching for. Analysts noted that the flight path geometry, tight loops at consistent altitudes, resembles search procedures used when responding to unidentified aerial intrusions or downed craft investigations. Attempts by local reporters to obtain clarification from nearby bases resulted in standard responses indicating that no unusual military operations were scheduled. However, these responses did not address the timing or the flight patterns observed. The combination of rapid deployment, controlled airspace, and coordinated patrols suggests that the event triggered at least a preliminary assessment by military authorities, adding further significance to the already unusual atmospheric flash. Satellite imagery analysis, a circular disruption in the cloud layer. Archived satellite images from the time of the event provide another layer of evidence that the flash was not a typical atmospheric occurrence. When analysts reviewed high-resolution frames captured by weather satellites, they identified a distinctly circular gap forming in the cloud layer over New Mexico at the same minute the dashcam and security footage recorded the burst of light. The formation did not match any known meteorological pattern. Natural cloud breakups tend to occur gradually or along irregular boundaries shaped by wind shear, but this anomaly displayed a near-perfect radial symmetry with a sharply defined edge. Infrared readings from the same satellite pass revealed no significant thermal spike, ruling out the possibility of an explosion or a heat-based atmospheric disturbance. This absence of heat contradicts most conventional explanations, including missile tests, flares, or meteor fragmentation. Typically, any intense light event at altitude produces at least a minor thermal signature, yet the satellite sensors showed none. Cloud physicists examining the data noted that the circular shape expanded briefly before dissipating, as though a localized force had pushed outward from a single point above the clouds. This aligns closely with the silent shockwave pattern captured by the ranch security camera. Analysts from civilian weather groups cross-referenced the imagery with wind pattern models and found no natural mechanism that could have sculpted such a symmetrical gap within seconds. The satellite evidence, while limited to a few frames, has become one of the most discussed components of the investigation because it confirms that the cloud disruption was real, physical, and recorded independently of ground-level cameras. Ground observations, burn patterns, and an unusual oval patch of scorched soil. In the days after the incident, several property owners and ranchers near the suspected epicenter reported finding a distinctive patch of scorched soil that did not resemble conventional burn patterns. The affected area formed an elongated oval shape, sharply outlined and limited to a compact section of ground, without any sign of spreading, smoldering, or ignition of nearby vegetation. Agricultural inspectors who later visited the site noted that the soil appeared dry and brittle, yet the surrounding brush remained untouched, which contradicts typical wildfire or lightning strike behavior. Interestingly, the burn pattern lacked a central impact point. Instead of radiating outward, the discoloration appeared uniformly distributed across the oval, suggesting exposure to a broad, downward-directed energy source rather than a strike or falling debris. Laboratory tests conducted by a local environmental group indicated slight changes in the mineral composition of the soil, though not enough to identify a specific cause. The samples showed no chemical residues commonly associated with flares, pyrotechnics, or fuel-based ignition. Residents also reported seeing a faint residual glow in the area on the night of the flash, visible only for a few seconds and disappearing before anyone could record it. While these accounts remain anecdotal, they align with a timeline observed in the video evidence and radar data. Investigators have not reached a consensus on whether the scorched patch is directly linked to the aerial flash, but the timing and location have kept it under active review. The anomaly continues to attract scrutiny from independent researchers searching for any terrestrial explanation that fits both the physical and temporal characteristics of the event. Expert assessments: why the event does not match known technology or natural phenomena. As the evidence circulated across research communities, several aviation analysts, atmospheric scientists, and UFO investigators began offering assessments. Their independent evaluations converged on a surprising point. The New Mexico flash did not align with any known natural phenomenon or documented human-made technology. Atmospheric experts ruled out lightning immediately due to the beam's straight-line geometry, lack of branching, and the absence of thunder or electrical activity. They also dismissed ball lightning and sprites, both of which produce irregular illumination and occur at much higher altitudes with distinct visual characteristics. Aviation specialists reviewed military and civilian aircraft capabilities and found no system capable of producing a concentrated vertical light burst strong enough to pierce cloud layers without generating heat signatures or detectable acoustic output. Missile tests were also excluded. Such tests generate substantial thermal profiles and debris trails, none of which appeared on satellite or radar recordings. Additionally, no known directed energy weapon, whether atmospheric or ground-based, could create a symmetrical cloud rupture without corresponding ionization patterns. UFO researchers highlighted that the event shared traits with other globally reported light column anomalies, including instantaneous appearance, silent expansion, and the presence of a brief radar return. However, they stress that these similarities do not confirm a single cause, but indicate an emerging category of unexplained phenomena. What stood out to experts across fields was the convergence of multi-source data, videos from different angles, a radar spike, satellite imagery, and ground observations all aligning in time and location. This multifaceted consistency is rare in unexplained aerial incidents and has elevated the New Mexico flash from an isolated curiosity to a case considered highly anomalous by both scientific and defense communities. The New Mexico event stands out as one of the most unusual documented flashes in recent years, with multi-angle video, consistent eyewitness accounts, a brief radar return, and satellite images showing a clean circular break in the clouds. The case offers more data than most unexplained sightings, yet no clear answer has emerged. Experts across atmospheric science, aviation, and defense continue to review the evidence, but the combination of a precise vertical beam, silent expansion of light, and lack of heat signatures remains difficult to place within any known category of natural or technological phenomena. For now, the flash remains an open file, one that invites continued analysis as new tools, reports, and comparisons become available. If you'd like to follow future investigations like this, consider subscribing and joining us again when the next unexplained event appears. There's always more to uncover, and your curiosity helps keep these mysteries in the spotlight.